to ASMG's Set Pieces podcast, where we feature interviews with players and officials of member clubs of the United Premier Soccer League. Today, we have a treat having the player owner of a new club in the UPSL, that being Jose Perez of Fountain City FC, currently competing in their first season in the UPSL. So I want to welcome Jose, and how are you doing today?
Hey everyone. I'm doing well, man. Thanks for bringing me on. I know we chatted a little bit before we got this thing started, but I'm good. I'm happy to be here and happy to be answering any questions you've got for me.
Well, I tell you what, I got a few questions for you, and I'm sure there's a lot of interest in what you're doing there in Fountain City. You guys have made a big splash already, competing at the very top of Division One. You got the leading goal scorer, who we're going to talk to a little bit later about the start to the season. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of this season, can you tell us a little bit about your role with the club there? It's sort of unusual to have an owner player combo going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. So it is a bit unusual and sometimes it's a little too much, but it would not be possible if we did not have Gage, is one thing that I've really come to realize. So a little backstory. So I told you that I teach at the university here at Columbus. I was actually the coach, manager, and player of their club team, and that was a lot. I mean, that it was so hard to balance both roles. I'm on the field just trying to figure out who needs a sub just based on who I notice is kind of tired. So it was a lot, and I realized then this is not a one person job. Like we're gonna need help. But yeah, so I am, I guess you could call me the co-owner, assistant manager, and player. So that's my role. I
A lot
play
of hats.
mostly, yeah, I play mostly center defensive mid, and like I said, assistant manager. So Gage handles a lot of this stuff, and I'm just kind of there. Anything he needs help with outside of the actual match day, because obviously I'm on the field warming up and stuff, so he does kind of take care of most of that stuff. But yeah, a lot of hats that I'm wearing there.
Well, and that's interesting. I mean, you started there in a school, so how did the idea for Fountain City come about? Was it something that you dealt with the people you were playing with at the time, or did someone from outside come up with the idea and you guys, kind of built it from there?
Yeah, so when I was still in school, when I was in grad school, I played for a team called Savannah Clovers, and the name might be familiar. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I played with them at that level for a while, and it was great, And obviously, then I moved. I started my big boy job, and I was living in Atlanta, and I played ADASL in
Yep.
Atlanta, and then I moved
Familiar
down to
with it.
Columbus. And unfortunately, there's nothing quite like ADASL or UPSL in Columbus. So we do have an 11-a-side league that plays on it's like the worst field you could ever
Uh,
imagine.
mm.
The pitch looks like more test bombs on it, and like it's completely dirt. There's holes everywhere.
A lot of
And
that
that
out
was
there.
like fun. Yeah, it was every time I was out there I would get injured. So
Ooh.
I decided, I can't keep doing this. So I was actually driving up to Atlanta um just to play on nice fields with good competition. Not to say that the dirt field league wasn't good competition. It felt like a different soccer. So
Yeah.
I always there's actually like a Facebook page with like 1,000 people in Columbus. It's like a pickup soccer thing where like we organize stuff. And one time you guys, UPSL had posted something about they were starting like a Georgia Division One or Georgia South Division, something like that. It was like maybe
It
I think it was 2020, uh,
Yeah, I think
years
that
ago.
now in the very beginning, I think the first year was 2018, and it was a merger between the Atlanta Caribbean League and the UPSL, that it sort of merged and became something else, and it was only Division One at the time. So that might be what you're
That's why
talking
there was
about.
Seas Jamaica and all those teams.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes
exactly.
sense now.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah,
Yard
so
ass and all those teams.
yeah, you guys had just started something else, and I remember I screenshotted that and I put it into this was like I said, 2020. Um,
Hmm.
you guys, I had put that in the page, and I was like, it would be cool if Columbus could, get a team together. And I was part of Clovers when they were kind of getting their stuff together, and I realized at the time how much work it was to like get a team together. So I knew I couldn't
Yeah.
do it alone. Shout out to Brian Sykes, the guy who kind of runs Clovers, and I remember seeing him kind of just be pulling his hair out with all the stuff that goes into it. And so I put in the chat like, hey, if anybody wants to get a committee together, maybe we can get something going. Obviously, it
Yeah.
didn't materialize. Fast forward another couple of years, and we kind of have like a core, well, that's what everybody calls us. We have like a core group of guys in Columbus that we've all kind of played on the same teams together, in the six-a-side men's league, six-a-side co-ed. We all played on the dirt field league together. There's like, six or seven of us.
Hmm.
And we were all playing on a team in that in that Sunday league on the dirt field. And basically the team had won the league three times in a row. And we kind of, I guess it was somewhat of like a falling. Anyway, the team fell apart and
Hmm.
everybody kind of went their separate ways. And then that's when we really started to talk about it like, hey, what are our options? There's another league in LaGrange, but that's a far drive every single game. And so we were deciding like, do we want to put our own team into this dirt field league, or do we want to really, bucker down and try to get this UPSL thing going? And it's really funny because things were up in the air. We weren't really sure what we were doing. We There was a tournament in LaGrange that we tried to, we're like, how competitive are we really,
Yeah.
like on a good
Let's
field?
test it
So
out. Yeah.
right, so we put a team into that tournament. We ended up winning the thing. Um, and then we actually did a couple of early scrimmages. This was maybe February 2023, I think,
Hmm.
where I was at this time, running the men's club soccer team at CSU. And I basically told Gage, like, hey, let's put together a Fountain City team, and then we'll have them compete against my guys, and we'll see how it goes. Men's club team got destroyed the first game, and we played on a really nice field. So shout out to Coach Jay. He let us use the women's soccer field at
Hmm.
CSU, and it's a beautiful field, Walden Park. Um, Grass looks so nice; it literally looks and feels like turf.
Wow.
Um, so, anyways, I think at that point we were like, okay, we were convinced we've got a good team here. We could do something, and we started having practices. We found a coach, Coach Mario, who was willing to basically just volunteer his time. I mean, none of us were really making money from it. I mean, we still aren't really. Um,
It takes some
Obviously,
time to get going.
yeah, we've got a little nest egg, but obviously we're using that to pay for the fields, which is
Hmm.
expensive, pay for the officials, the jerseys, and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, we were having practices literally like four times a week, which, I'm super grateful that he was willing to do that with us because it really brought everybody together to have a coach there. I've seen how things go when there isn't a coach, the egos start to kind of slowly rise, and then there's bickering and people stop showing up. So it was really cool. And he was real big on like discipline and stuff. So, he's a Purple Heart recipient, was in the
Wow.
military. So like everybody respected him. And anyways, for months in the hot summer, so that started maybe around April. So
Hmm.
we've been training four times a week basically ever since April of 2023. We were playing friendlies against current UPSL teams and current ADASL teams. And we were doing well against them, and I think that really kind of got the ball rolling where everybody bought in. We're like they're like, wow, we've actually got a team here that can play at that
Yeah, it
level.
gives you that confidence, I guess.
Yeah. And then we had our first official tryouts that summer of 2023. We had more people than I expected, which was, I guess as a co-owner, that was amazing. It's like, wow, the
What,
city's
what, where,
actually getting
where
friendly.
were, where were the players coming from? And it's something you started with your, like you say, the core group. And
Hmm.
so, how did you get the word out to the, potential players, and where did they come from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Yeah, that was actually one thing that we were worried about. It's like, okay, well, we've got seven quality guys here, but that's not enough for a team. Even if like we pick up four others for a starting 11 and they're awful, like we're gonna lose. So we we actually this is something this is like a point of pride I think for our team is that we have a unique kind of blend of players where we've got guys who are stationed at Fort Moore who, they get rotated every now and then, but they've always got quality guys with like international experience. So that's kind of, some of the guys. Then we've got old heads like me who are like, near their 30s or at their 30s who have tons of playing experience. And then we've also got like the local academies like Concord and all them.
Hmm.
So then we've got youth guys. So we've got a couple of high school players on our team. So it's just like a really interesting mix where the young guys have people that, can give them advice. We and then we got the old guys who do all the running.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we've gotten emails from folks who don't even live in Columbus asking about, coming down and trying out or playing, which to me, again, that's a point of pride where it's like, wow, we've got folks who are willing to drive. We had some guy from Lawrenceville who was
Really?
taking a 2-hour drive to
Yeah.
train. Uh, yeah, I mean, really from all over, but that's kind of like our top three, I guess, talent pools is the youth, the old heads, and then the Fort Moore people.
That's a really good mixture though. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of teams, they struggle to get that type of mixture where you have that experience, where you have a good, avenue from the youth into the first team and sort of that core group surrounding that. And so, I mean, that sounds like a great combination to have. I mean, we see teams in the UPSL, you have teams like Kalanji in the Premier, Dalton United, much more experienced teams, but not a lot of youth. They've been together a long time. They've been playing together since they were young. Then you have teams like Atlanta City, very young team. They have a starter that's 15 years old, that plays with them regularly. And so, having that mixture has to be a plus for you guys. But have you found any types of struggle when it comes to, you know, getting that to mesh together, to get the chemistry just right? Because you have the core group, but then you have sort of the younger guys and then some of the older, international experienced guys. That sometimes that can cause a clash. I mean, how have you experienced that there at Fountain City?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point, and this is something that we've been talking about. We actually discuss this regularly. This has got to be the least toxic team I've ever been on.
That's great.
I can't
There's a
honestly.
lot of toxicity out there.
Every team has at least one player, I believe. Well, every team I've ever been on has at least one guy who's just like a impossible to tolerate, and we just don't really have that here. I mean, yeah, every now and then at practice, we people are competing for a starting 11 spot. Um, and man, we've got so much depth that that's actually a huge issue for us is that on any given day, it's like, well, who do we choose?
Yeah.
Everybody, it's like it's funny, we make subs and I feel like the other teams are like, oh, thank God that guy's coming off. But they don't know that there's another guy equally as good
Good
about to
or
come
even
back
better.
on. Yeah. But it's funny, anytime there's flare-ups at practice, somebody is, either cursing at somebody or yelling, you literally get an apology that's like after practice we get together, we have like a little prayer, and then like we everybody just kind of like, coach has his final words. Yeah, you'll have whoever was fighting like, hey guys, my bad, like I just got heated in the moment, like please,
Yeah.
I take it all back. And then the other guy's like, yeah man, me too. And like literally at any time there's like a flare up like that, or we have a group chat and it'll happen there. And it's great, and even like the younger guys, they're so willing to hear people out. They'll frequently ask the older guys like, "Hey, is there anything you guys think that I can improve on?" They're so open to hearing that,
Yeah.
and it's funny watching our high schoolers out there. They've improved so much, man. Like I remember we had a couple of younger guys, and it used to be pretty easy to defend, and now it's just like they're one of my top picks. It's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
can't defend this guy anymore. Like just being exposed to smarter players, even if we're maybe less athletic, I feel like it really helps. Like their decision making has improved so much. So now match that with their athleticism, which is top of the line. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with real soon if they're not already. But yeah, we don't really have too many issues, I don't think.
Well, I
It's
mean,
great.
that has to play into why your team has been so successful in this first year. You're a brand new team here, and you're at the top of the division, basically. I mean, you're fighting there in the top two consistently. Some clean sheets in the past few games there. I'm sure that maybe the center back has something to do with that. I don't know. But I mean, I think that that plays well with the way that you guys have put together that club. But one other thing is, I know we're getting a little long on time for you, and but the other impressive thing that I've found in looking at your team is not just the team itself, but your support. You have a good connection with the local community there. Can you tell us a little bit about how that developed and why it's so good in that area? And what area? Tell the people what area of Georgia you're from exactly. Some people might not understand Fountain City, where that is on the
Right.
map.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I was at the store and somebody saw the logo and thought I was from Kansas. But yeah, so Fountain City is actually in Columbus, Georgia. So right on the border between Alabama and Georgia, kind of like south middle-ish.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's where we're at. But in terms of like the fan support, I think another thing that helps us with that is again our three kind of pools that we get our players from. So we've got the youth. They've obviously got their high school friends and all that, their community out there. The Fort Moore guys, they've got their community out there, and then we've got us who have played in the Sunday League, who have gotten support. So some of our players like Federico, one of our center backs, he's kind of known in the area for being a good defender. And we've got lots of examples of that of players who had success in the Sunday League and
Hmm.
people come out to watch like, oh yeah, that guy's good. Um, but our following, honestly, I just can't believe how much support that we've gotten. Our page went from like 200 followers on Instagram to
Yeah.
uh like over a
Exploded.
thousand. And I remember
Yeah.
specifically for our home opener, we were I see your cat back there
Yeah.
getting
See,
into some trouble.
hey, hey there. You want to get on the interview here? Yeah, yeah. Come on, come on, come on, Tux.
That's
This is our
cute.
this is our sort of mischievous cat here. Come here, Tux. Come here. There you go. There you go. There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so no, you're fine. I closed the door on him. I was like, I know he's gonna I have a cat too. He's gonna come in here and start knocking stuff over.
yeah, he's
Um,
always interested in what we're doing.
yeah. But yeah, I remember our home opener. We advertised that like crazy. And I remember we were out there warming up. There was like maybe our stadium's huge. So
Yeah,
no
yeah,
matter how
it's
many
nice.
people are there, it's gonna look kind of empty. I remember looking
Yeah.
up and I was like, well, 40, 50 people, that's okay. I was like, I'm just happy there's people out here. And then we
Yeah.
went into the dressing room for like the last pregame pep talk kind of thing. And
Hmm.
then when we walked out, there was like 300 people out there. Like everybody showed up in those like 10, 15 minutes. Um,
Yeah.
and it was insane. Like it really does make a difference. Like
Atmosphere,
even when we
man.
travel, we've got like 20, 30 people traveling to come watch, which is crazy to have that as a Division 1, amateur club. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, your support rivals many of the Premier Division sides that are out there, and
Wow.
if you guys continue on, you're going to hit stride getting into the next division, and I don't see anything getting in your way with that. But one last question before I let you
Mhm.
go here. I mean, like I said, it's great to see that the chemistry of the team working out, the support that you guys have. If there are people that want to learn a little bit more about your club, maybe there are players that want to, get a trial with you. What's the best way for them to find out about the club or even contact you guys?
Um, so we have a Facebook page, but we've also got an Instagram page. I feel like our Instagram page, Fountain City Football Club, I think that's where we get our most exposure. So if you're interested in learning more about the club, you could direct message that, or in the bio, there's also our email, so you can email us. We check that regularly. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, or our email. I think that's going to be the best ways to get in contact with us and learn more.
Yeah, and probably we'll go ahead and put that down in the description of this interview. Well, this will be on YouTube for our set pieces podcast,
Mhm.
and we're able to include some of that information if people find the interest to follow you or even get involved. I mean, game day staff, stewards or ticket takers, whatever it is. I'm sure that that'll help your club grow. So. But yeah, I'm gonna let you go now. I mean, we've got good information from you, but I do want to have an opportunity to get back with you as the season
Mhm.
goes on, see how the progress of the club is going. But I just want to thank you for your time now, and look forward to covering more of Fountain City with ASMG.
Sure, yeah. Like I said, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be out on here. So if you ever want me back, I'll be on here again.
You got it, man. Will do.